machine pistols, SMGs, PDWs. All of these can be very complicated terms and are very dependent not only on context, but also subjective understanding of firearms. Today I really want to focus in on what machine pistols are, how they started the whole SMG and PDW arms race of development, and then I just want to have a little bit of fun and talk about machine pistols specifically in video games, because they have much more of a presence than you might think. So I'm Pliskin, let's get right on into it. The majority of infantry to infantry fighting happened in the trenches of World War I. These were extremely close quarters. It was at this point in history that things like the pump-action shotgun, the semi-automatic handgun, really started to be recognized for their versatility and usefulness in these close-quarter engagements. A desire to take the larger machine guns and make them portable so that you could take them into the trenches and just sweep everything in your way. This started by taking the semi-automatic handguns that soldiers and, well, mostly officers were using and turning them into full automatic, higher capacity versions of themselves. This ended up being very useful and slowly started to develop into the SMGs we know today. It's really kind of crazy to see how, automatic fire, compact stocks, removable stocks, drum magazines, all stemmed from this one desire to create a compact automatic weapon for trench warfare. After the war, most of the compact automatic weapons that were developed were SMGs, or small machine guns, taking pistol cartridges but being in a package much closer to a rifle, the most famous of which is the MP5. But machine pistols continued to exist. Stuff like the H&K VP70 and the Beretta M93 Rafika were both made in order to supplement police units and give them a little bit more firepower without going overkill with something like an MP5 or rifle for your basic patrolman. This never really caught on in this setting. Moving forward to the end of the 20th century, and we started getting the idea of PDWs, which were somewhere between a rifle and an SMG. But there are some cases in which machine pistols also became known as PDWs. The Scorpion is probably the best example of this. In fact, to this day, a lot of people, a lot of experts, don't really know how to categorize this gun. In the 21st century, now more than ever, machine pistols are becoming more and more relevant. In the civilian world, while automatic fire might not be present, stuff like putting stocks, optics, extended magazines on your pistols are becoming more and more of the rage, making the most out of limited firepower. But then even in military settings, specialized weapons like the Glock 18, or more often than not, Glock 17s with automatic switches, are being used in very niche special operations. So how exactly does this whole idea of maximizing limited firepower translate to video games? And what are the most common examples of this? So let's talk about Metal Gear. Now, a lot of you who have been on this channel for a while will know that if we're talking about Metal Gear and machine pistols, we're going to talk about that pseudo gun from Ground Zeroes. You see, I would argue this machine pistol, I believe it's called like the SC something something, it's like whatever. It's a combination of the Scorpion, designs from like 1980s Rhodesia, and of course like the behaviors and style of usage of something like the MAC-10 or TMP. It's a stand-in for that kind of gun. In-game, I would argue it's the best weapon you can have on you. You can take out cameras, you can take out guards, the fully automatic fire makes it very useful in combat. Unlike the assault rifle and larger weapons, with this gun here you can grab a guard and use them as a human shield when you get into combat, meaning on hard difficulty, this gun is super useful. You can use it and fight in combat when you're carrying a prisoner. It's just this really wonderful kind of jack of all trades. Maybe it's a master of none, but it's good enough for almost every situation Ground Zeroes can throw at you. But if we're talking Metal Gear machine pistols, we gotta talk about how Metal Gear started off. a lot of its like inspirations. I mean, I would argue Metal Gear itself is just a straight up copy of the original concept in Escape from New York, a film from 1981 featuring Kurt Russell playing a character known as Snake Plissken. Now, it's to the point where the Mac-10 that Snake Plissken utilizes in the film is actually used in both Metal Gear 1 and 2. In those games there, it plays a much more similar role to Snake Eater's AK or MGS1's FAMAS in the sense that it's your, oh shit, I'm in combat now, I need to use this sort of gun. But yeah, it's very apparent that the idea of a machine pistol being used by a covert operative that needs a compact weapon that can play a lot of roles is very core to Metal Gear's identity and also Snake as a character. So I'm very happy that Ground Zero, something that I consider to be one of the most polished Metal Gear gameplay experiences, features a machine pistol and really showcases its strengths in this scenario. Resident Evil features a lot of iconic pistols, and machine pistols are definitely not left out of this. In Resident Evil 2, you have the Mac-10 or Mac-11, depending on which version you're playing. The remake features this really cool balancing element in which the Mac-11 is much better at delimbing enemies, so it adds a whole new layer of strategy to it. You have games like Code Veronica, where Claire is using a Beretta M93, although if memory serves correct, she uses it as a standard semi-automatic pistol, which again, let me make it very clear right now, with machine pistols in general, you can use these things like a normal pistol. So if you're in a situation where full auto is just not feasible or practical, it's as simple as just flipping the switch. So, you know what? I actually like how Code Veronica allows you to use this pistol in semi-auto, really cool. But then you have a gun like the TMP from Resident Evil 4. A gun that exists in its own class. Now the game does a really cool thing where it refers to this as a pistol, not an SMG, and that's very true to form, because a lot of people would consider stuff like the TMP, the more compact version of the Uzis, and the Mac-10s and 11s to be machine pistols. Fun fact, the US military actually considered, briefly, replacing the 1911 with a Mac-10 in 45. Resident Evil 4 definitely gives the TMP a legendary status because this gun here feels like the top dog of the game. The only thing holding it back is that its ammunition is not as common as something like pistol or rifle cartridges. But were this a standard pistol, this would start to feel more like a level-up balanced game, in which all the other pistols pale in comparison, and the TMP is something that you have to work up to. Then we got Parasite Eve 2. We're going to be talking more about this game in the future, just because I've been playing it a lot recently, and there's so much I want to say. But one of the things I want to bring up is the usage of the M93 Rafika as a triple burst machine pistol in this game. Now remember when I mentioned the VP70 and the Rafika before? Now when police units were adopting these pistols, it was at a time when triple burst was considered to be like, okay, yeah, this is the way we enhance firepower while still controlling the fire rate. Now, of course, this ended up being gimmicky, and there's a very big reason why firearms manufacturers are not still pursuing triple burst. But to see it portrayed in this very true-to-life way in-game is really cool, and the whole philosophy of enhancing a police officer's firepower against a serious threat without going straight up to something like a rifle is very true to form here. So it's a realization of these machine pistols' purpose in a very supernatural and extraordinary setting. Now, at this point here, there is one more game I want to bring up when it comes to machine pistols. And that is, of course, Halo. Now, I'm going to be focusing on Halo 2, because even though I feel like there's plenty of examples in Halo 1, Halo 2 really goes down hard with compact automatic weapons. Now, you see the SMG in-game? This has a lot of the factors that one could compare to a machine pistol. It's very compact, fits into a pistol holster, and can be used in a way very similar to a pistol. But then even if you look at the Covenant weapons like the plasma rifle or the needler, because they're made by aliens with very different hands and arms to us, the way they're held and employed in a lot of cases, especially with Halo 2's dual wielding system, makes them act like a full auto machine pistol. So for those of you who are wondering how I was going to put Halo into this video here, there it is for you. In conclusion, machine pistols are really cool, they have a very strong presence in games, and it's a very easy way to make a personal weapon used by a protagonist feel a lot more personal and handgunny rather than a disposable rifle, shotgun, or just, something that they use to take out a big bad guy but then have to throw away whenever they have to climb something or run. Like, there's a very special presence that a sidearm has when you give it to a main character. So a machine pistol is a great way to, again, amplify and make the most out of limited firepower. This has been Pliskin, over and out.
This is Solid Snake. Hey, subscribe to Pliskin Boy. God damn it.
You heard him.